Video games are more than just a way to pass the time, they're a doorway to incredible worlds where we can become heroes, villains, or anything in between. But not every RPG gets the attention it deserves. Today we're diving into 25 forgotten gems that will take you on unforgettable adventures. Whether you love action, strategy, or immersive storytelling, there's something on this list for everyone. Let's get started. First up is Ghost of a Tale. This one stands out not just for its stunning visuals but for its unique take on stealth and adventure. You play as Tilo, a small mouse trapped in a dangerous world ruled by a rat empire. It's not your typical heroic journey. Tilo is vulnerable, and survival depends on sneaking past enemies, hiding in barrels, and solving puzzles. The world is beautifully detailed, and the RPG elements, from outfits that boost your stats to quests that deepen the story, make Ghost of a Tale a must-play for fans of adventure and stealth games. Next, let's jump into the cyberpunk world of Divine Cybermancy. This is no ordinary action RPG. You're thrown into a dark, dystopian future where the lines between reality and hallucination blur. What sets this game apart are the mechanics. You don't just rely on guns. You have cybernetic implants and psychic abilities to upgrade as you progress. Healing is done through alchemy, and every combat encounter feels intense and gritty. If you're a fan of hardcore RPGs with complex systems and deep lore, Divine Cybermancy will leave a lasting impression. If you're into old-school dungeon crawlers, Legend of Grimrock 2 will scratch that itch. This game takes you back to grid-based movement and puzzle solving. You guide a team of 4 adventurers through an island full of monsters, traps, and secret treasures. Every step you take is calculated, and the game's many puzzles will keep you thinking long after you've encountered the last enemy. It's a perfect mix of nostalgia and modern design, making Legend of Grimrock 2 a fantastic addition to any RPG lover's collection. Moving on, we have Necropolis, a game for those who love roguelikes and hardcore challenges. In Necropolis, death is permanent. If you die, you start over from scratch. Every dungeon you enter is procedurally generated, meaning no 2 runs are ever the same. The game's eerie atmosphere and dark, moody visuals keep you on edge, while the unpredictable nature of weapons and potions keeps you guessing. It's tough, it's brutal, and it's endlessly replayable. Let's take to the high seas with Raven's Cry. This game takes a gritty, realistic approach to pirates. Set in the 17th century, you'll navigate treacherous waters, engage in naval battles, and fight duels as a pirate trying to survive in a ruthless world. What sets Raven's Cry apart is its dedication to realism. The pirates are brutal, the combat is fierce, and the world feels genuinely dangerous. If you're tired of romanticized pirate stories, this is the game for you. Now for something with a mix of fantasy and strategy, Tower of Time. This game stands out for its deep tactical combat and unique character progression. You don't just level up by fighting monsters. Instead, you explore and find ancient manuscripts that unlock new abilities. The game's combat is real-time but with a heavy focus on strategy. You also have a hub city that you develop and upgrade as you progress, giving the game a layer of management alongside its RPG elements. If you're in the mood for something a bit lighter and more humorous, check out Deathspank. This game is a quirky mix of action, adventure, and RPG elements. The world is colorful and full of bizarre characters, and the humor is offbeat in the best way. You'll embark on a quest for a powerful artifact, fight monsters, solve puzzles, and level up your character with some crazy weapons and abilities. If you want an RPG that doesn't take itself too seriously, Deathspank is a perfect choice. Next up is Unepic, a side-scrolling action RPG with a unique sense of humor. You play as Daniel, a regular guy who finds himself trapped in a dangerous, sprawling castle. The game mixes platforming, RPG mechanics, and puzzle solving as you explore over 200 rooms filled with traps and enemies. The variety of weapons, spells, and items you can find keeps the gameplay fresh, and the game's quirky writing will have you laughing as much as it keeps you on your toes. Let's go underground with Arx Fatalis. This game is set in a world where the sun is dying, forcing all races to live in underground cities. You play as a prisoner tasked with delivering vital information to the king, a quest that may determine the fate of the world. The magic system in Arx Fatalis is one of its most unique features. You draw runes in the air with your mouse to cast spells. The game also has a physics-based system that makes even simple tasks, like cooking food, feel interactive. Now, let's talk about Enclave, an action RPG with 2 distinct storylines. One where you fight for the forces of light and another where you serve the dark side. The gameplay is challenging with limited saves and a hardcore difficulty curve. You'll fight through a variety of quests, gathering powerful equipment and facing tough enemies. The two-story approach means you can experience the game from different perspectives, adding replayability and depth to the experience. In Archangel, you wield the legendary Sword of Light to determine the fate of humanity. This action RPG spans 3 worlds: medieval, futuristic, and the realm of darkness. What makes Archangel stand out is the mix of weapons from different time periods. You'll be switching between swords, guns, and even more mystical abilities as you take on the forces of darkness. If you love fast-paced combat and an epic storyline, Archangel is a solid choice. For fans of Norse mythology, there's Rune. This action RPG is all about melee combat and exploration. You'll wield a variety of close combat weapons as you journey through 25 different worlds, each filled with enemies and hidden treasures. The game has a distinct focus on shields, which have their own health and degrade over time. Rune also supports local and online multiplayer, allowing you to team up with friends to conquer enemies. Next is Venetica, a unique mix of a slasher and classic third-person RPG. Set in a fantastical version of 16th century Venice, you play as a heroine who can access the afterlife. Death in Venetica isn't permanent. You gain twilight energy from defeating enemies, allowing you to resurrect upon death. The game world is filled with bandits, monsters, and secret locations, and while the main storyline is linear, there are plenty of side quests to explore. Drakensang is another RPG that deserves a place on this list. Set in a vibrant fantasy world, the game offers 12 different character classes, each with unique abilities. One of its standout features is the companion system. You'll be joined by fully fleshed out characters with their own personalities and backstories. The world of Drakensang is filled with expansive locations, offering both combat and exploration in a beautifully crafted setting. Now let's dive into Loki, Heroes of Mythology, an action RPG where you choose between 4 heroes: an Egyptian mage, a Norwegian warrior, an Aztec shaman, or a Greek warrior. Your goal? To align with the gods and defeat the Egyptian god Set. The game features random level generation, meaning each playthrough is unique, and the multiplayer mode lets you team up with friends for cooperative or competitive play. Legend, Hand of God takes place in the fantasy world of Eris, where humans, elves, and gnomes unite to fight off demons unleashed by an ancient portal. What makes this game unique is your companion, a fairy who acts as your guide, giving you advice and comments as you explore. The combat is fast-paced, and the story is engaging with plenty of twists and turns to keep you invested. Hunted, The Demon's Forge is a co-op-focused RPG set in a dark, medieval world. You can play as either a warrior or an archer, switching between them during the campaign. The game is designed around cooperative play, and if you're playing solo, the AI controls your partner. The combat is satisfying with plenty of variety between melee and ranged attacks, and the dark atmosphere adds to the tension of the game. In Sudeki, you find yourself in a fantasy world divided between the City of Light and the City of Eternal Night. You control 4 heroes, each with their own abilities as they fight to save their world from destruction. The game's combat is a blend of real-time action and RPG mechanics, with each character excelling in their own element. Sudeki also features a unique progression system that lets you upgrade your weapons and abilities as you progress through the story. Silverfall is an interesting blend of fantasy and technology. As you journey through the game, your choices will align you with either the powers of nature or the forces of technology, affecting your abilities and the game's storyline. The world is dynamic, changing based on your decisions, and the game's mix of companions and exploration makes it a standout in the RPG genre. The Cursed Crusade tells the story of a Templar knight cursed with the ability to travel to Hell and command its forces. The game features a unique character development system and a brutal combat system where weapons can break after use. As you progress, you'll collect maces, axes, and swords to battle your enemies. The hellish world of the game is atmospheric and reminiscent of dark fantasy films, making for a gripping experience. Bound by Flame offers a unique twist on the typical RPG storyline. You play as a hero possessed by a demon, and the game's main mechanic revolves around your interaction with this demonic presence. The more you give in to the demon's influence, the closer you come to the dark side, physically changing as your voice grows rougher and your skin darkens. Your companions also have rich backstories, making for an engaging and dynamic narrative. Next is Fairy, Legends of Avalon, a turn-based RPG set in the mythical world of Avalon. You play as either a fairy or an elf tasked with saving the world, and the game's world is divided into several regions, each filled with quests and magical creatures. The game features a robust dialogue system, where your decisions affect how characters interact with you, and the combat follows traditional turn-based mechanics. Rise of Argonauts mixes action and RPG elements in a Greek mythological setting. You lead a group of legendary heroes aboard the ship Argo, navigating the world and completing quests for the gods. The game lacks traditional health bars and stats, focusing instead on visual cues for combat and storytelling. The plot is the game's strongest point, weaving together familiar mythological stories with new twists. Numen, Contest of Heroes is set in ancient Greece, where you play as a hero guided by one of the gods. The game features a unique character progression system where the weapons and skills you use in your childhood determine your specialization later in the game. The god you choose to follow also influences the gameplay, quests, and abilities available to you, making Numen a game that rewards careful decision-making. And finally, we have Lord of the Rings, War in the North, an action RPG set in the rich world of Middle-earth. The game doesn't follow the main storyline of the books or movies but instead focuses on a parallel narrative. You control one of 3 characters, each with unique abilities, as you fight through iconic locations from the Lord of the Rings universe. The cooperative gameplay is a standout feature, allowing up to 3 players to team up and take on the forces of evil together. And there you have it, 25 RPGs that may have slipped under the radar but are absolutely worth your time. Whether you're into hardcore challenges, immersive worlds, or just a quirky sense of humor, there's something on this list for everyone. So, if you're looking for your next adventure, try one of these forgotten gems. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this trip down RPG memory lane, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe for more gaming content just like this. Oh, and before you go, there's another video popping up on the screen right now. Click it to keep the adventure going. See you in the next one.